All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Unknown Files on the Outdoor Call Radio Network. This is Outdoors Dan. Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday all across the good old U.S. of A. Going to have a fun show for you tonight. Sorry we weren't on last week. It's that time of year. Everybody's busy, but that's okay. We got a good one for you tonight. I'm going to be talking with Scott Taylor. Scott is a investigator for the BFRO, and I'm going to let him tell you what that means because I don't want to mess it up. And we're going to have a fun time tonight. If you got questions, we're live streaming on the Facebook live stream, and you can check that out. And let's just go welcome our guest, Mr. Scotty Taylor. Scotty, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing well,
Good
buddy.
to see you.
Thank you. I love seeing the bows and stuff hanging on the wall and the arrows and everything, brother. It's good to see another bow hunter, brother. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do it all. Bow, muzzleloader, and regular modern rifle.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. You know, hey, I always say it doesn't matter what methodology, just get out there and practice some good sound conservation and go hunting, right?
Well, in Washington State, you can get a multi-season tag if you draw, so you can use all of them.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's exciting.
Start out with archery, then go to muzzleloader, then go back to modern rifle, and if you still haven't gotten anything, they got a late buck a rifle, late buck, and archery. So
that's awesome. So, Scotty, I know it's been a while since we had you on the show. I appreciate you doing the show when you did. I can't believe we've been on. I don't even know how many years now. We've been on two and a half years. It's going quick, but it's always a fun subject matter to get you guys on and talk about the big fella. Tell everybody what the BFRO is.
Okay, the BFRO stands for Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, and it was started in, I believe, 1995 or 1996 by Matthew Moneymaker, and it's probably got the best database of any in the country. We have over about 72,000 reports in there right now. Probably 3/4 of them are really good reports. So we got several hundred investigators all over the country who are trying to run reports down. Here in Washington State, we're like 1,200 reports behind. There's just so many, and not enough of us doing it. And it's all a volunteer activity. So you got fuel and all that kind of stuff to pay for. So you get up one or two a month.
You know, and that's just, is that including the back end of the files? I mean, what the back end's called the flats, right? Where I can't go on and see that, but you as an investigator can go in. So when you say that number, is that including those as well?
Yeah, it's everything that's in flats. Probably what's published is maybe only about maybe 10 or 15% of what's in there.
Huh. Well, and now, since you and I have talked to each other, how many reports do you see a year that are new? Are you seeing more, less, or about the same on the average?
I'd say probably on the average about the same. When the TV show kicked off, the Finding Bigfoot show, we just got hammered, and that's why we're so far behind on them. But it seems to be fairly regularly. They trickle in, and somebody's seeing something every day, it seems like.
Yeah. And I was talking to some buddies of mine at the archery shop today because they asked me, what do you got on the shows tonight? And I said, well, we're going to be talking regular hunting stuff at 5. And then we got Unknown Files on tonight. And I got Scotty Taylor on from the BFRO, and we're going to be talking about the big fella. And my buddy Mark, he's always giving me grief. He goes, when are you going to give up on that? And I said, well, Mark, I don't know if it's real or not. I haven't seen him. I haven't heard him. I haven't smelled him. I haven't seen any tracks. But I can't say sitting here that it's not real because somebody's seeing something. And then I said, the thing that gets me, this is what we were talking about a little off air. I told you, I was telling Scott I had Dr. Muldrum on a couple of weeks ago. And the thing that's Scott, the thing that is I love Bigfoot. I love reading about it. I love the lore, the legends, the stories. Ape Canyon, the
Mhm.
not where Patty was at, Bluff Creek.
Bluff Creek.
Yeah, Bluff. I mean Patterson and Gilman. I love all of that stuff. But the one thing that I cannot get, or I cannot say that I can't. How do I say this? Having about this much of a medical background when I was a medic in the Navy, okay,
Mhm.
just that little smidgen.
Mhm. Mhm.
You can't get through some of these abnormalities that are in these footprint castings. Hey Tony, how's it going, buddy? Hi Josh. Hey Jacob. Hi Tony. Good to see you tonight. Thank you. Um, you couldn't have faked those 40 or 50 years ago because nobody would have known how to do that, and we didn't have 3D printers and all this other stuff 50, 60 years ago. You've got all the
Right.
literature, just from doing the show the last couple of years and having Native Americans on that live that Mel Scahan and some of these other gentlemen that
Mhm.
I've talked to. Going back through all their hey Daryl Adams, do you know Daryl Adams, Scotty Taylor?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Daryl
I
Adams.
do. Hi, Daryl.
Daryl is a good man. Daryl and you both have something in common.
Yeah.
Just going back through everything. I mean, people have been reporting and seeing these, and but the footprints, the tracks and stuff. I just don't know how anybody would have went 200 miles in the middle of nowhere and laid tracks with those kind of abnormalities on there. He said to tell you hi, Scott. Um, uh,
Hi, Daryl.
you know what I'm saying? There was no way to fake that.
Yeah.
So,
Who
so
would do that? Really?
well, I'm saying, I mean, Mel the Trapper wasn't out there putting trap lines and then putting footprint tracks with dermal ridges and toe anomalies and everything else out there. I mean, Mel the Trapper would not have known how to do that. So
Correct.
that's the stuff that goes. Well, how do you explain that?
Yeah. The only way you can explain it is that there's a real creature out there that got dermal ridges on their toes and leaves tracks like that once in
Or
a
they're missing a toe, or they've got bunions. I mean, some of this stuff that I mean, it's feet are not pretty things. I'm just sorry. I mean, I'm 60 years old. My feet are a mess. But you figure, you get all that stuff out there. Now I could see 100% how you could fake that now. Just throw it up on the 3D printer, have it printed out, poop, 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 poop. I could see you doing that. I don't know why you would want to do that, but I could see how that would happen. But
well,
go ahead.
the problem you're going to have with that is one, you don't have enough weight to make the depth of the impressions that these creatures make because they're very, very heavy. And you can't show the dynamic movement of the toes because their toes are supple like fingers because they're used all the time. Same thing with a human who's never worn shoes, and there are a few of those, tribal type people in various places never worn shoes, and their toes are completely different than ours. They act more like fingers.
Yeah.
Um, so um, yeah, it would be very difficult. Oh,
Well,
and stride length too.
no, I get it, and I understand that. I mean, just from being a hunter, I mean, I can tell, on a doe track or a buck track from the weight. There's other
Hmm.
things, there's other things. I can look at scat and see, kind of figure out what, turkey scat, from a bobcat scat to deer scat. I can see all that, but
Hmm.
and the other thing I get is, well, with all the technology that we have out, why aren't we getting unequivocal proof of photography or videos? I said, well, I will just say this. I mean, there's literally thousands and thousands of videos and pictures out there. 90.9%, 99% of them are probably BS. But there's a couple
Probably.
of them out there that's like, what's up with that? Does that make, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's
I
some
mean,
good ones out there.
so how do you differentiate from something, and when you look at it, 100% that's a mock and that's not real.
Well, there's a guy. He's got a YouTube channel called Thinker Thunker, and
Hmm.
he came up with this concept, which really makes a lot of sense when you just think about it. He calls it proportional DNA. And what that means is every creature, every species has a certain ratio of their body parts to the other body parts, like arm length to leg length to torso length, the proportions of their face, how big is their nose with respect to the distance between their mouth and the line between their eyes. And these creatures have very unique ratios that are completely different from humans. So a human can't get in a suit and change those ratios. They're still going to have the same arm to leg to torso length ratios as a human. So that's how I one of the ways I look at it.
Okay, so according to Dr. Jeff, Toby Johnson, just reading Toby's books,
Hmm.
listening to Toby's stuff, and listening to you and other the arm length. Like, let's just use Patty for an example. The video that Bob Gilman, help me out, the two guys again.
Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson.
Thank you, Patterson and Gilman. Thank you. And I understand Bob Gilman's is just a prince of a man. I would it would be awesome to talk with him for 5 minutes. But
He's like your dad.
yeah, I heard he's just a nice man. So,
Yeah.
like the video they shot, the nickname of that subject is Patty. That's what they've called. That's what she was, a female Sasquatch.
Hmm.
But you can see
Hmm.
that her arms are elongated to where now. What if they would now see? Here's the thing with that film that I have to argue about. Planet of the Apes came out almost about the same time, didn't it? Or roughly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
that thing in that video that they took, that film, that 35 millimeter or 10 millimeter, whatever millimeter film it was, looks 5 times more real than what Planet of the Apes, and that's Hollywood having the best special effects in the world. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah.
but what you're saying, I understand what you're saying. I guess somebody could have like a little like a cast or a cage, like an arm cage inside of there to extend it and holding on to it where it's got a fake hand. But that video is not showing that.
Well, not only that, but the people back then didn't even know about that concept.
Right.
And let me take that further since you mentioned Planet of the Apes. The man who designed the costumes for Planet of the Apes, the best in the business, was a guy named Bill Munns. Bill Munns did a 3D analysis of the site there using photogrammetry and a first generation copy, which has a lot more detail in it and data in it than the copy of the copy of the copy that you see these days. And what he was able to do with photogrammetry was to create a 3D model of the scene. And he was able to define where Roger Patterson moved and where Patty moved. And based on that, he was able to actually resolve what the focal length of the camera had to be, because either she was 7 foot, I think 3 inches tall, or she was like 4 foot tall. Well, we all know she's not 4 foot tall. So he resolved the issue with the focal length because that was in question. Um, but what he did though is he proved how big she was, and then took it even further. He had a photo of himself taken at precisely the same distance with precisely the same focal length of camera, and put them side by side, so you can see how monstrously huge, how massive she is.
Yeah. Well, see, and I understand that. I actually saw some of that. I saw that, I think, last year. I was on YouTube or something watching that, and I saw that. So I also saw where they've never been able to disprove that was a fake. They put
Yeah.
out $1 million. If you can prove this is a fake, we'll give you $1 million, and nobody's got the money yet.
Yeah. And here's another issue.
Yeah.
If you take a human skeleton and you scale it up to be the same height as Patty, Okay, so the head is going to scale up proportionately. The proportions of our skull are so much different than hers that it wouldn't fit in the costume. It
No,
would, your
I hadn't heard.
forehead.
Yeah, no, that's good. Hey, Roger in New York, how you doing, buddy? Chris in PA, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. You know, when I talk to Daryl, Mark Parker, yourself, I mean, you've had encounters where you've seen them. I believe
Yeah,
that you've
yeah.
seen. I believe you that you saw them. You know, I can usually tell when somebody's BSing me or not. And I don't get that vibe off of you guys. Mel Skahan, I didn't get that vibe off the talking with him. There's a gentleman in Minnesota that Mr. Moneymaker actually went and did a. He was on that show. The gentleman that I met at the reservation up by Lake Winnebagosh, and he
Mm-hmm.
actually he sent me a casting of that
Mm-hmm.
encounter, which was very nice of him to do. His whole house. He's a Native American gentleman on the res up there. His whole living room counter is full of castings. He goes, Dan, I see this stuff all the time on the res, and I mean
Yeah.
something's making something, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
he's not on the corner selling them, Scott. So what would be the
Yeah.
incentive to keep doing it? You know what I'm saying?
Just it. I guess it's the personal satisfaction out of knowing something that other people think is a myth, and you know the truth.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's no enticement for him to keep doing it. He's not making money off of it. It's what I'm saying.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I'm trying to get at. He's not selling T-shirts or a book. And God bless anybody that writes a book and wants to make a living doing their passion. I'm all about that. I'm just saying that to me, when I talk to somebody that's not doing that, to me it gives them more validity.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
So I don't know. And then I talked to another gentleman. I'm sworn to secrecy on this. Okay. He was in a special ops unit, and he says that they've got footage where they were doing night patrols, and they've got FLIR footage of them uh, from the military, and they cannot talk about it. They're not supposed to talk about it.
I have seen clips of that kind of thing, and to me, it looks real. In our expedition that we just got back from on Sunday, for the first time, we had a thermal drone, a really high-end thermal drone with us, and we got video. We got video of two, an adult and
Infrared or regular video?
infrared.
You did
Well, thermal,
thermal. You
thermal.
got you
Yeah,
got thermals. Now
yeah.
you're a hunter, unequivocally
Hmm.
not a bear. You for sure was not a bear or another human.
So he saw them walk out bipedally. He saw them walk out of the wood line into a clearing. They walked out and they stood and they looked up and watched the drone because they'd never seen a drone before. And so yeah, they stood there like that, and he got video for several minutes, and then he had to return to base because the drone's battery was about to go. But here's what we did. I climbed up there, I hiked up there, and I found that meadow. And I stood in that meadow while he flew the drone over and took video of me. And there are certain features in that meadow, even though we didn't quite get the aspect of the view right, but there's certain features in that meadow you can line up. And you can look at me, you can look at the adult and the juvenile, and he also got one of a deer in there.
Really?
So you can line up all three of those, and with respect to the deer, it's just right compared to the size of a human. But when you compare the juvenile to me, that juvenile is bigger than me, and the adult is like Patty, huge, absolutely stupendously huge.
Yeah. Chris says that he's always been interested in Bigfoot. Had some crazy noises in the mountains a few years ago. Never heard anything like that, like I did then. Daryl says we need to get that drone at Al Moon Lab. You know where that's at, right?
Yep, been
Yeah.
there.
You been there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you lucky
Yeah.
ducks. Yeah,
I
I keep
haven't been. Yeah, I've been to the woods they call the Al Moon Lab, but I haven't been to Daryl's house.
Well, he's in Oklahoma now. You know that, right?
Yeah, he moved.
He
Yeah,
moved. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I said, how could you
yeah. New
leave if you were
people.
having all that crazy stuff happen? How could you leave?
Yeah,
Are you hearing me
yeah. I would.
okay? Are you hearing me okay? We got
Yeah, I'm
feedback or
here.
something?
No, I'm hearing you fine. Are you
Okay.
hearing me?
I oh Roger Dodger. I got you. Yeah.
Okay.
I love Daryl Adams. He's a prince of a guy. I enjoy listening to him. He's always good about sharing stuff. He sent me a bunch of photography, some videos, and some
Mm-hmm.
MP3s of how they call them the howler. I think I still got that actually. Um,
Mm-hmm.
have you heard that?
Yeah, I've heard all that stuff. Yeah, yeah, it's good stuff. One thing you're going to find is wherever you go in the country, all the investigators, all the people who are experiencing this stuff are getting the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's common throughout the country. So there's got to be something to this, you know. But for me, I've seen 7 of them,
7.
and that's enough. Yeah, and so there's no question for me. I know, I've seen them, clearly right up close, and so for me, I know I can't prove to somebody else what I saw,
No.
but
No.
because it's a personal thing, they have to find out for themselves.
Yeah. Daryl, this is one of the things Daryl sent me.
Okay.
Could you hear that?
No, it didn't come through.
Okay, here, hang on. I'm going to cut your mics here. Hang on.
Hmm.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, chatter,
Yeah, chatter.
chatter.
So when you're out there bow hunting, so you've been around 7 of them. Do you have any
Hmm.
concerns about going out there hunting, or what you might be walking into, or do you just don't think
No,
do you
no,
think they're just going to leave you alone?
they just leave you alone. If you're hunting, they'll tend to shy away from you anyway. If you're hunting with a rifle, they know what hunter orange means, so they tend to stay away. And uh,
Do you really
they,
think the tree knocks are them, or do you think it's something else? You think it's moose rubbing their antlers, or elk, or popping brush? What do you think? What do you think tree knocks really are, or is that them?
it's them. I would say it's them for sure. How they make the knock, now that's another story, because around the Pacific Northwest, you can't go out in the woods and pick up a branch and hit a tree without it just busting into pieces because everything is so wet and rotten.
Yeah.
Um, so they're doing it. Maybe they're doing a tongue click, or they're doing a mouth pop, or a chest thump, something. But they're making that sound for sure.
Well, I never heard
There's
anybody say
purpose.
that. That makes sense to me, Scott. Honestly, now that you say that, with the type of timber and stuff out there. So
Hmm.
what you guys are we ever going to see any of the video that you shot? Are they going to release that? You going to do a special? I mean, well, how are we ever going to see any of that?
Well,
And
I could
I don't want to get you in trouble.
I could probably, if I could share my screen, I could probably bring some of it up. But
I don't know how to do
I
that.
have, yeah, I'm not too sure either. A Zoom, I could do it, I think, but it's yeah. We might share a little bit of it on Facebook. The problem with it is you got so many darn trolls. For them, they put out more energy proving something's not true than if they just went and really did the research and found out it was true. So
Well, I get it. I wish people could document stuff. Yeah, I mean, Scott, you've been a hunter how long? I mean, no matter what you do, somebody's going to be upset with whatever you do. I mean, if you shoot it,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's human nature dealing with humans.
yeah,
That my favorite thing to do when I get somebody trolling is hit the delete key, delete, delete, delete. It's
yeah.
just you can't. But for there's a lot. I don't want it to have to take a body to
Me
prove.
neither.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'll be just
Yeah.
speaking for myself, and I talked to Daryl and Mark Parker about this, and I believe Mark, I believe Daryl, I believe a lot of the folks that we've had on. Tim Fields, you know who Tim Fields is? He did the Bigfoot experiencers or the influencers.
Oh,
Big,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, he's a nice guy. I believe him and his wife. Tobe. I believe Tobe, John
Yeah.
Tobe, and
Toby's a good friend.
yeah, Tobe's a nice guy. But I don't want it to take something dying for me to say, well, now I know it's real. I wish there was a way to have more definitive proof that we could. Because here's the thing: if we could ever do that, I would like to see protection set up where you couldn't shoot them.
Well, there was a DNA study done by Dr. Melba Ketchum with, I believe it was 109 samples that came from Northwest here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a double blind thing. She had two different universities do the testing. And the mitochondrial DNA, the DNA from the female line, showed it to be 100% human. The DNA from the nuclear DNA showed it to be a human hybrid of some species that's nowhere in the database anywhere. So the argument could be made if you killed one that you just committed murder.
Well,
And there
yeah.
might be some people, some DA somewhere wanting to make a name for himself to be the first person to convict somebody for killing a Bigfoot.
Well, just speaking for myself, if I'm not going to eat it, I just don't shoot it. I mean, I would rather video it or watch it, or I just
Yeah,
that's just the way I was raised. If you, I
it's a way.
hunt because I
Yep.
hunt. I have a passion for hunting and fishing, but if I'm
Hmm.
not going to eat it, I put it back in the water, or I don't shoot.
Yeah,
Um,
I
uh,
completely agree. We're on the same page.
yeah, Daryl or Jeff in New York says that's the bad thing about the internet, the trolls. Hey, Rick, down
Yeah.
at Lake of the Ozarks, how you doing, buddy? There's squatches down at the Lake of the Ozarks.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, they're
yeah,
everywhere.
they're everywhere. I was talking to Dr. Muldrum uh, when we did the show with him, and he says they're not as populous as some people say. He said that the part of the reason why the sightings are not more common is because they're very rare. They're in family groups, but there's just not a ton of them out there. What do you think about that, Scott?
Well, I would have to respectfully disagree with him. They're incredibly elusive, but they're by no means rare. Or we wouldn't be seeing as many of them, hearing as many of them as we do. People are seeing something every day, every other day. They're hearing something all the time. Um, they're scattered everywhere, including very close into urban areas. You've got a wetland or a green belt or something like that in the middle of town. They can get in there and be there. So they are. I don't believe they're by any means rare or I believe if you could strip the forest of all the trees and vegetation and see them all standing there, I think you'd be surprised how many are actually around. A lot.
Huh. Well, that's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. Makes sense to me.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is, if there's that, if it's not a weekly thing, though, is it? I mean, every week, and I mean, do they travel that much? I mean, if there's that many, and I'm not picking on you. I'm just asking. If there's that many of them in an area, do you see weekly stuff from every state?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And consider this: they're mainly nocturnal, and we're not. So they're out and about when we're sleeping for the most part. So we don't see them. The other thing is they don't necessarily want to be seen. There's kind of a saying within the Bigfoot researcher community that if you get to see one, it's because they let you, not because you tricked it or something like that or made a mistake. I mean, that may happen. I'm sure it does probably happen, but by and large, it's not within their MO to be seen. So if they're trying to hide and they're mainly only mainly out in the dark. It's probably 80-20, 80% nocturnal, 20% during the daytime. There's just not that many opportunities to see them, but yet people are still seeing them, which says there's got to be quite a few.
I got you. All right. All right. Well, listen, you hang on. I need to take a real quick break. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We're visiting with Scotty Taylor with the BFRO, and we'll pick the conversation up when we come back as soon as I get this loaded. I thought I had this loaded. I will be right back. The show is brought to you in part by our good friends out at Revelton Distillery down in Osceola, Iowa. They are the official spirits of the Unknown Files show. We'll be right back. Knives in the industry. Hey guys, it's Outdoors Dan, and I'd like to tell you about one of the most functional set of outdoor knives I've come across in a while. That's Weeby Knives. Have trouble keeping an edge on a knife? Check out WeebyKnives.com. They have replaceable scalpel blades that make sure you always have a sharp knife in the field. Tune into the radio shows every week for your chance of winning a Weeby knife throughout the year. From turkey hunting to deer hunting, trapping to camping, Weeby knives are my go-to in the field. Don't believe me? Check this out.
I'm Ronnie Adams from History Channel Swamp People, and when I reach for a sharp knife, I reach for a Weeby knife, my baby.
Get yours now at WeebyKnives.com. These knives are so good, you will want to get a few for yourself and your buddies that love the outdoors.
You think alligators are tough? It's like a hot knife through butter, you heard me?
So when you're ready to hit the outdoors, make sure that Weeby Knives go with you. Get yours now at WeebyKnives.com and tell them Outdoors Dan sent you.
Weeby knives, wicked sharp, my baby.
In these times when a lot of us are working from home, it's even more important to make sure your home is the right temperature and comfortable. Now is a great time to call the experts at Wyckoff Heating and Cooling at 287-6000 to schedule a check on your current heating and cooling systems. Is your house too dry and giving your family issues? A Honeywell dehumidifier system installed with your AC heating system can solve that issue right away. Wyckoff Heating and Cooling is a family-owned and operated business that has been serving Iowa residents and businesses for over 70 years. They offer 24-hour service and programs like the Peace of Mind Plan for less than $15 a month. So if you want more time on the water or in the woods this year, please call the folks at Wyckoff Heating and Cooling for any of your home or business heating and cooling needs. One call to Wyckoff Heating and Cooling will bring you peace of mind under your roof every day.
Let's talk about a story, an Iowa story about a dream that took several years to come true in Osceola, Iowa. It's the story of Revelton Distilling Company. These fine distilled whiskeys and gins and vodkas were born from the labor of Rob and Christina Taylor. It's amazing hearing the customers' descriptions of how unique each bottle looks and how each spirit tastes and satisfies with every sip. From the honey whiskey to the whiskey and cream, or the robust mulberry gin, American gin, or vodkas. Revelton Distilling visitors can't believe the flavor profiles the mixologists are creating at the distillery every day. Revelton Distillery is open Wednesday through Sunday in Osceola. They're located at 1400 West Clay Street, right off I-35. Revelton Distillery fine spirits are also available at your local grocery and other retailers around Iowa. Please check them out online at ReveltonDistillery.com or visit them at the distillery. If it's time to celebrate or just time to sit back and unwind, well, then it's time for a Revelton moment.
OnX Hunt helps hunters be more successful in the field each season, with maps of all public and private land and a fully functional GPS without service. The app, trusted by over 6 million users, has just released a bunch of new features to help you on your next hunt. New aerial imagery options like leaf off, recent imagery updated every 2 weeks with historic look back, and imagery on demand. On top of that, OnX is camera market by syncing your hunt app with multiple cell camera manufacturers and helping to organize and analyze your photos. You can also now view your maps in Dash when driving to your next hunting location. These are just a few of the many updates OnX has for this hunting season. Try OnX Hunt free for 7 days or go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code X for 20% off your new OnX Hunt membership. Try OnX Hunt free for 7 days.
All right, welcome back to the Unknown Files on the Outdoor Call Radio Network. Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday all across the good old US of A. I got my guest, Mr. Scotty Taylor from the BFRO. We're talking about the big fellow tonight, and we are live streaming on Facebook Live and on the Outdoor Call Radio Network. Let me see here. Why has there never been a Bigfoot found dead, Scott? I hear this a lot too.
Oh yeah, we've heard that question a million times. Oh well, it's quite likely they pick up their dead and they bury them, but we don't know for sure. But you know, how many bear skeletons do you find there? Generally, an animal that dies in the forest ends up being all torn apart and the bones dislocated and scattered all about. So I know around here they don't last long. I know when I hunted in Colorado, you'd find deer and elk skeletons all over from winter kill, that kind of thing. But around Pacific Northwest, you don't find as much. So I think the environment reclaims them, and they're, in my opinion, they're a people, and so they're going to care for their loved ones that have died and probably bury them.
See, that's after last year, I started kind of thinking the same thing. If they're in family groups, why wouldn't they take care of their dead?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That just makes sense to me. Folks, if you're watching on the live stream tonight, I have no idea what is going on with I had it cropped, and then somebody was saying they couldn't see Scott, and Scott's a beautiful man. We want to make sure people get a chance to see him. So
they don't need to see me.
Hey Nick, what's going on the East Coast? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. I tell everybody, Todd, how you doing? Please tell AJ and everybody in Pennsylvania I said hi. You would like Todd and AJ, Scott. They're big hunters, and his son's a heck of a musician too. So, you would like him. Do what?
Bigfoot's like music.
Yeah,
you should go out and play for him. Yeah.
There you go. Todd, get AJ out there on the hunting preserve and start playing. Let me know if anything shows up. So.
Yeah. Hey, something we just tried was bagpipes. We had a young man brought bagpipes on the expedition. Last year he did it and it worked. They came in curious as heck. What's that sound? This time he did the same thing, and we had him come in.
Really? Bagpipes?
Bagpipes, yeah.
Now, when you said you had him come in, did you see him on? Was this at night, because you said nocturnally? Was it on thermal?
It was at night, and it was on thermal. The two that they got with the thermal drone were headed towards the main base camp.
So can you watch them? I mean, I know drones only have a certain amount of fly time, but I mean, if you got those things up and about, I mean, are they circling you, or are they just watching? What are they doing?
Well, the drone just goes wherever the pilot tells it to go.
Right.
And what this one was doing was, once we saw the two subjects, it just hovered. And I'm amazed at how steady they can be. I mean, they're up there one spot, they don't move. And it just was watching the two Sasquatch down below, and the Sasquatch, dumbfounded, were standing there looking up, not moving. Although he did watch them walk out of the woods, headed towards our main base camp.
One of these days, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He also, the day before, saw something big moving up an extremely steep slope like this, at a high rate of speed, also going towards the same area as where the two were that we got video of.
Yeah, that's not a human doing that. I can tell you, if it's that big of a grade, there's no way, not at a high speed.
Yeah.
That's crazy. One of these days, I'm hoping I get out your way, because I would just love to see some of this stuff. That's to me is the fascinating thing, because you just, like I said, I get a lot of stuff on the internet through my Facebook feeds. I'll get people send me stuff, and I'll look at it, and it's like, well, I can tell it's a ghillie suit. That's not a Bigfoot. That's a guy in a ghillie suit. But I would love to see some of the thermal stuff sometimes. So I begged that guy to let me see the military stuff. He goes, I can't do it, Dan. I'll get in trouble. I said, well, don't get in trouble. So, and then there was another friend of mine that told me that they have somebody else that was in a FLIR helicopter, and they got some stuff but it's so classified they won't let it out. So, What do you think
Well,
why do they keep that classified, Scott? Why don't they let that out? They're already open out and about the UFO stuff now.
so I was just going to mention that they keep it classified because it will tell our adversaries how good our equipment is.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I would just tell them, don't come over here. We got Bigfoot. You don't want to mess with them.
That would be bad for them. Yeah,
Bad for the Bigfoot or bad for the invaders?
bad for the invaders.
Yeah,
Bad for the invaders.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with them. So when I talked to you last week, or I can't remember if I texted you or whatever, but I asked you to look into. There was a case about a young boy that disappeared for 3 or 4 days, and they found him
Yeah.
in the middle of no. They found him all of a sudden, and he said that that a bear had got him, and the bear kept him warm and took care of him for
Hmm.
2 or 3 days. And I asked you to look into that. I've
Yeah.
been around a lot of bears in my life, Scott. I've never seen a bear that would hug a human and keep a human. I mean, I just don't see a bear doing that.
No, no, I don't either. In Russia, they have these tame bears that might be a little bit like that. But your wild bears, black bears we have out here are never going to do that. They might have him for lunch, but that's about it.
Well, no, I mean that's just it. I mean, I just can't see them doing that to a small child. I mean, was there anything ever looked into that, or was it a hoax, or what was it?
So I don't think anybody looked into it further. I don't know what you'd really look into. The media just blew it off as a fanciful story from a child. But I will say that we had a similar thing happen here in the Northwest, down in Oregon. A young boy, I think he was about that same age, he went missing, and the searchers went out and they searched for days and days and days. And they were going back through an area they'd already thoroughly searched, and they found him. And he'd been set on a trail right in front of where the searchers were going to go, and a not a too heavy of a log was set across his lap to keep him from getting up and moving, just basically to anchor him down. And so he was found, and when he was asked about it, he said the big hairy man kept him warm.
Huh? And
So
that was out your way.
that was in Oregon, yeah.
And
Hmm.
how long ago was that,
Yeah.
Scott?
Oh, I think I heard that about 20 years ago. I think it was around the town of Estacada. Um, so it's not unheard of for that kind of a thing to happen.
Yeah, that's crazy. Rick said they left our best night vision technology in Afghanistan with no problem there. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that, Rick. I'm already sick enough about politics as the way it is, buddy. The last couple of weeks, it's just sickening. I can't. I can't. But I hear you. I can't. I hear you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Scott. It's just what do you when you went out on your expeditions? I mean, how many people were with you on your trip?
We had about 30 people plus 7 staff.
And
The staff are investigators.
and everybody got to see that activity, or just a few of you?
Just a few people got to see it. Yeah.
Well, I bet
Yeah.
they weren't. I bet they weren't happy.
Everybody was happy to have been part of it. You know, people on some of the night walks, they would get a wood knock or two. We got a couple of whoops. Even the day before the expedition started, the group of us that put it on were up there 2 days early. We heard a long siren call, about a 20-second long siren call, followed by a 5-second long siren call. So they were in the area. We knew they lived around there.
Gotcha.
Now we know more about where they like to go.
So, are you going back out that way, or do you know that Mel Skahan said that they travel, they follow the food, the berries. They move as the food grows and goes away. Then which to me, that's what any animal is going to do. It's going to follow the food sources, right?
Yeah, Mel's right. Mel was my boot camp DI for Sasquatch.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he's a fine
Yeah.
fella. He's a fine. He told me some Native American stuff that was pretty crazy. I just on the
Hmm.
spiritual side, I tend to I don't know. I'm a pretty spiritual person, so I really appreciated what he told me and shared with me because I could see where some of that stuff happened. So
It definitely does. Last October, I was a speaker at the Yakima Reservation where they had a Bigfoot conference there on the reservation, and that was probably one of the most rewarding uh, experiences that I've ever had. The Native American culture is so intertwined with the big hairy people in a very profound way, and I learned a lot. And the rest of us would do well to try to learn from them as much as possible.
yeah, well, it's such a in every tribe they have their own the encounters or their own stories, and they're very protective. Every tribe does.
Yeah.
They don't share. It's a clan or a tribe thing, from what I understand. Mel was telling me. They're very protective of that of those stories or tales.
Yes. Yeah. They are. They are. So they don't tend to talk too much. If you can ever have especially a tribal elder trust you enough to talk, just keep your mouth shut and listen to everything he says,
Oh, I
because
would
you're going to learn.
definitely. Yeah, I'd give me a bologna sandwich and just sit there and listen for an hour. That'd be awesome. So
Oh, it would be. It would be. Well, I kind of got a little flavor of that from Mel on my very first expedition. I got to spend the whole afternoon with him, and I went up the ladder pretty quick as far as learning. Well, the learning curve, I went up it real quick just because of Mel. He's
yeah,
awesome.
I enjoyed listening to all of his forester stories, things
Hmm.
that happened to him when I was out there doing surveys and stuff. That was pretty
Yeah,
crazy. Chris in
yeah.
Pennsylvania wants to know: do you think Bigfoot is a shapeshifter?
They have abilities. They have abilities. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, that
I
gets into what people that gets into what people call the paranormal side,
yeah.
and and that's a little easier to talk about around the campfire rather than broadcasting out to everybody because it's very controversial. I'll just say they have some abilities that are
Rick wants
more
to
than we
know.
have.
Rick wants to know, and are deer their favorite food?
I would say no. I would say their favorite food is probably more plants and small animals. Birds, rabbits, squirrels, possums, raccoons, that kind of thing. They will occasionally kill a deer and an elk. From what I hear, they're really looking for the liver for the vitamins that are in it. And
Well,
I've run across.
I know that down in Boggy Creek on when all that happened. I don't know if you guys think that was real or not, but I know that they said they took several of their livestock. Do you get a lot of reports on livestock being taken?
Not a lot, but I do hear occasionally of them coming in and grabbing some chickens. I knew of one guy who had a big turkey pen, and the turkeys learned real quick to sleep in the middle of the pen and not within arm's reach of the fence. They would vanish overnight.
Huh.
So yeah, they'll take domestic ducks, geese, chickens, turkeys, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, are you almost retired now? I know you said you were getting close the last time I talked to you. What's up with you? What do you got coming up?
I'm retired. Boeing let me go when COVID came, and so we've been out here at our place out in the country, fixing it up and making it nice. And um, seems like I work harder now since I retired than I worked when I was working. It's manual labor. I will tell you this: I'm in better physical shape than I've been in since I was in the Marine Corps.
Really?
Seriously.
I forgot you were in the Marine Corps. Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Simplify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This weekend I proved it too.
Did I guess you did if
Yeah.
you're out there doing your expedition. What do you got cooking on that next? If well, first of all, if someone sees something or someone wants to go in and read a lot of these reports, what's the best way for them to do it, Scott?
So the best way to do it is go to www.bfro.net, and there's a section there of pull down for reports recently added, and you can start working through there and look all over, different places of the country and see where reports have been published from. When we do the reports and finish them up, we don't always publish them. Some of them are not worth publishing. Others are maybe a little controversial. Some are sensitive, so you may not want anybody trying to figure out where it's at. So only a portion of them get published of what we have in the database.
I got you.
So that's one. And then there's other websites out there, Sasquatch Chronicles, Bigfoot Encounters. You can just go surf the web and you can get a lot of stories, the good stuff. Some of the old stuff that's really, really interesting stories. My favorite is the Cowman of Copalis Crossing, which is not too far from here. Very interesting story of interaction between a Bigfoot and a little boy.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. Someone wants to go on an investigation. Can they do that with you guys?
Generally, it's not done. We occasionally will take a friend with us, but most of the time we're trying to also protect the identity of the witness. The witnesses are often very reluctant and they're often very traumatized.
Yeah.
And so one of the, I guess, benefits of what we do is we give that witness the ability to vent and to be validated and not feel like they're crazy. Many of them are experiencing PTSD symptoms. I knew one guy who, after his encounter, could not sleep the night for almost a full year until his wife told him, "You got to go talk to somebody." And he ended up talking to me and getting the story out. We went to the site, saw that, documented everything. But that helped him put it behind him.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. You want to give out any other contact info if someone wants to visit with somebody, or if they have something they want to talk with somebody in confidence about, or anything like that?
Well, you can go on the BFRO website, and you can put in a comment, or you can leave a voicemail. Our secretary, Caroline, will route out those kind of inquiries to the right person, and they'll get back to them.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, Scott, I appreciate you spending some time with me on a Wednesday night, buddy. Thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to say goodbye to our live stream audience. Scott, don't go nowhere. I'm going to talk to you off the air when we get done. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to my live stream, and then I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on the Outdoor Call Radio Network. So you just stay there, Scott. Don't touch nothing. I'll see you guys on Saturday. You have a great night on our Facebook stream. I'll see you later.